Are you a woman of faith who is struggling in your current season of life? Do you feel like life is happening to you instead of for you? My name is Jill Pack. I'm a certified life coach and a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I want you to know that no matter your season or circumstance, it is possible to create a more joyful life. And I would love to show you how. Are you ready? Let's go. Happy Tuesday, my friends. Welcome to the Seasons of Joy podcast. Before I begin, I would love to tell you a little bit about the Seasons of Joy community. It's a small group coaching community that I just created. We started in April and it has been so fun. We actually covered the topic that I'm going to be talking about today in this episode. In May, we're going to talk about the season of abundance, and in June, we're going to be talking about the season of fun. Can you tell I love seasons? If you want to learn more about this community, the Seasons of Joy community, or my Seasons of Joy one-on-one coaching program, I have included links to those in the show notes, and I invite you to check those out. This is episode number 7, titled Spring Cleaning Dirty Pain. Now, over the last few weeks, my husband and I have been remodeling this area in our home. We've lived in our home for almost 28 years, and the room we're working on isn't big. It's a small loft just off of our master bedroom, and it's one of the last spaces that we're working on updating. Gradually, over the years, this loft has filled up with some stuff. And as with any space you organize and update, we've been pulling everything out, deciding what we want to keep, what we want to let go of, what we want to update. It always amazes me when I tackle a project like this, all the clutter multiplies and then it seems to explode. It actually gets worse before it gets better. And without even realizing it, all this collected clutter has been weighing me down. But once it's been cleaned out, the pain of going through it all was so worth it. There's this new freedom in a way, this lightness. I think this is how emotions are. Sometimes we start collecting these emotions and we aren't checking them. We aren't cleaning them out. And before we realize it, we've allowed them to build up and clutter our lives. Now, don't get me wrong. Emotions aren't good or they aren't bad. We need them all. But what can happen is that there are these few emotions that we've allowed to clutter our lives. They take up more space than some of the others that we maybe originally intended. Emotions like judgment, frustration, self-pity, discouragement, blame, or shame, which leaves little room for understanding, compassion, love, curiosity, or joy. And when you go to pull out an emotion, you pull from the top of that clutter pile and repeatedly grabbing the same one and not really allowing ourselves to use some of the others, which actually keeps us in pain. Now, pain is not all created equal, and I want to talk about 2 different types of pain today that psychologists refer to as clean and dirty pain. So I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about what clean pain is. Clean pain helps us feel alive. It cleanses us. It's healing. It moves us through this human experience. For example, my parents passed over the last couple of years. I've lost both of them. And grief has helped cleanse and heal and move me through this experience. Now, I still experience grief today. It hasn't totally gone away. When I walk by their pictures, on my fridge, a little wave of grief, a little ache passes through me. I really do miss them. And I'll think of fun memories I have of them. I think of them together and happy. And it really only takes a matter of seconds, right? This ache and then memories, focusing on them. But it is a regular occurrence. And other emotions like love and gratitude come along for the ride. And the amount of time that the pain of grief takes has gotten a little less and less, and the intensity has gotten less and less. In some ways, I actually believe I'll probably experience waves of grief for the remainder of my mortal life because I miss them. And there isn't a time limit on how long I can be allowed to grieve, right? There isn't a limit. And for me, this whole process has been cleansing. It has been clean pain. But what I want to talk about next is dirty pain, and it is needless suffering, and it follows clean pain usually. And this needless suffering occurs because we're resisting what we can't control, and we're thinking thoughts that we don't necessarily want to think. It could be we're watching our loved ones choose differently, our husbands, our children, our friend. They're doing things that we wish they would do differently. We're believing that it should be different, and it keeps us stuck. Or we may look at the events of the world and we have thoughts that create fear and worry. And we're stuck in that, and we stay there, not progressing through the emotion or finding perspective. We're fighting with reality, and it keeps us in pain, feeling hurt, self-pity, worry, frustration, fear. It's cluttering up our emotional lofts, if you will. And we're always grabbing hold of them because it's taking up so much space, right? Those emotions, those dirty pain emotions are taking up space, and those are the ones we grab. So I want to invite you to consider an issue or a problem that has consumed you for a long time. It could be the choices of others, your body, a diagnosis, the state of the world. And my guess is you've probably spent a lot of time and energy trying to control this issue. But I ask you, are your efforts working? My guess is your answer is no. Otherwise, you would have found a solution to your problem already. But what if the issue you're spending so much time and energy and thinking about isn't really the problem? What if it's the continuous rumination of the problem? That's the problem. What if you're always grabbing from the top of your emotional clutter? Again, this is referred to by psychologists as dirty pain. Now, Martha Beck teaches that when we get stuck in believing that things should or ought to be different than they are, we actually get stuck in proving how we and life are bad. Now, I'm not suggesting we don't feel pain again, right? Pain is part of life. That pain opens us up to beauty. We're going to experience pain, uncomfortable emotion, half of the time. But when we're ready to move into acceptance of reality, we actually can set ourselves free from the clutter, from the emotional clutter. We can begin to pull out this clutter, and we can look at our beliefs and the emotions they are creating, and we get to decide which ones we want to keep and which ones we want to let go of. Now, again, it isn't wrong that we think any thought or feel any emotion, but awareness is optional, and it's available if you are ready to feel something different, if you're ready for some spring cleaning. Cleaning out and letting go of your painful stories will actually invite more happiness into your life. Martha Beck also teaches that the best way to do this, I love how it's described as compassionately observing ourselves. The best way to move and to clean out, to do this spring cleaning, is by compassionately observing ourselves. Now, I want to invite you to ask yourself, is there a dirty pain that you're tired of indulging in? Are you ready to start spring cleaning this emotion out by managing your mind? If so, that is the best place to start. I'm going to share with you 5 steps that you can take if you're ready to clean out some clutter and make space for something new. The first step is what I touched on in the beginning, is just being ready to start spring cleaning. Are you tired of walking through all the junk and clutter, that emotional clutter? If you're ready to start spring cleaning, that's step 1. Step 2, acknowledge and notice the emotions that you seem to be feeling on a regular basis. Is there one that seems to be on the top of your clutter pile? Then ask yourself this question: is it appropriate to feel this way, or is it time to let it go? If it's appropriate, maybe look at it, dust it off a little bit, and let it stay. I wasn't in a hurry to move past grief. I've allowed it to stay. I've dusted it off from time to time, and it has helped me move through through this human experience, right? But if you find an emotion is taking up necessary space, then I invite you to compassionately move on to step 3. Think of a thought or a feeling that you can redirect to that causes you to feel something better. Now, I'm not suggesting that you just find a positive thought and that all will be well. Maybe, but probably not. What I'm suggesting is that after you've noticed an emotion and that it is moved into dirty pain that's keeping you from moving through the experience, right? Pain that comes from arguing with reality, which is causing you to needlessly suffer, right? Notice that. As I have shared before, frustration was definitely an emotion that I was grabbing from the top of my emotional clutter pile again and again. But when I was finally ready to clean things up, I pulled out all my painful stories and I made some room for curiosity. It was messy at first. It got worse before it got better. I had to experiment and try different thoughts and emotions. But as I continued to clean out the clutter, I was able to make space for other things that served me better. I really didn't jump into happiness or even gratitude in the beginning, but I knew I was tired of always going to frustration. So the thought I found and began to use and continue to use is, that is interesting. It is a signal to my mind that I am not going to go automatically to frustration. I have done some cleaning and reorganizing, and I have made room for something better for me, and that is curiosity. Which leads me to step number 4. Practicing this thought or feeling whenever you can. That is interesting is a thought that I have practiced over and over. And so I've created a fast path to curiosity. I have created space for curiosity. So I invite you to find one and practice it. Write it on a piece of paper or post-it note and put it somewhere you can see it. Maybe it's every time you brush your teeth, you'll think it, or you turn on a light, you'll think it, you'll pause and you'll practice redirecting to that thought and allowing yourself to feel something different. We've created these neural pathways in our mind to a painful story. That pathway is deep, right? But you can create a new one. And it makes me think of a room full of stuff, right? There's so much stuff, and there's this little pathway through the room, and there's only one way to go. There's piles of magazines and newspapers. Our brains can be so full of clutter that we have this well-worn path to thoughts and emotions that are no longer serving us. It's going to take work to clean it out, right? And make space for something else. You've got to take each item and look at it and decide what you want to keep and what you want to let go of, one at a time. And that's what I'm talking about. Every time you practice thinking or feeling something different, you're removing some of the clutter and you're making room for something else. And step number 5 is to just repeat, right? After you've practiced and you've taken care of one of your dirty emotions, you've cleaned it out, find a new one and repeat the steps. Repeat these steps, right? These steps, these spring cleaning, dirty pain steps. Be ready to do something different. Notice an emotion you want to change. Redirect, practice it, and then just repeat. Clean out those emotions. If you're ready to create something better, I invite you to give this spring cleaning practice a try. Just start with one emotion that you're ready to clean out and start there. You'll be amazed at what can happen by intentionally creating space for more of what you want in your life. If you'd like to learn more about what life coaching is, please feel free to schedule a free discovery call where we can work through something that's causing you a problem. Just go to seasons-coaching.com. You can also learn more about my Seasons of Joy coaching program and my Seasons of Joy community there too. Thank you so much for listening. And if you like what you hear, please share it with your friends and your family. And I would love it if you'd leave me a review. The more you review, the more people will hear this. I hope you have a joyful week, and I'll see you next time.